Good morning and happy Thursday. This is SJU. I am Roth Cornet, and I am very excited to speak to you guys today about many things, but it does include a Beetleborg update. If you were watching yesterday, you know what that means. If you weren't watching yesterday, then we are going to talk about Wonder Woman gunning for an Oscar along with Planet of the Apes, get a look at the Hateful BB-8, and in all the Lordess of the Flies. I'm not sure what we're calling that yet. Hal Rudnick is here with us today.
Super psyched to be on board. Thanks for inviting me to SJU.
Thank you for being here. Spencer Gilbert, as always.
What's up?
Mr. Dan Murrell.
Hello.
And I think, Dan, jumping into the first topic, it seems like you have something to say. Like, Warner Brothers, just to set this up, is gunning for an Oscar nomination, specifically for Patty Jenkins and for Wonder Woman.
Sure.
But in addition, Fox is about to launch a massive Oscar campaign for Planet of the Apes. Of course, technical awards aside, they are looking for things like Best Picture for this film. So they are really, really gunning. This is... Now, genre, there's been a storied history with genre and Oscar. It does not typically go well. The conversation always bubbles up here and there. It did with The Dark Knight. Mad Max was nominated, which was amazing. Fury Road didn't win, obviously. What do you think?
I think that War for the Planet of the Apes 100% should be given a campaign for Best Picture. I thought that was, I think, in a weird way, one of the reasons it didn't do very well is because I thought it was too heavy as far as like a summer movie. Repeat business is a big driver. Like, I think that is it's a big scale, but it's kind of a small story about these two guys and about, redemption and about, I don't know. I think Fox should push War for the Planet of the Apes. And I think also Patty Jenkins is Best Director. That's a very smart play for them. I would not put Wonder Woman as one of the best movies of the year personally. And I love Wonder Woman. I love that movie. But I mean, when I'm looking at the best movies of the year, would I include Wonder Woman in that conversation? At the end of the year, probably not. But War for the Planet of the Apes, I think a case could be made just because they did so much with that story and with those characters in a very kind of a deep, ironically human level. I love seeing this push. The Dark Knight got a big push and didn't really get over the hill on Best Picture and Best Director and stuff like that. So I think the studios need to keep pushing these genre movies or they won't ever get recognized by the Oscars.
What do you think? Hal, you were saying that you especially want to see...
Oh, I would love to see Andy Serkis get recognized because, either a Best Actor nomination or some kind of... hello.
Lights just went out.
SJU After Dark. Things just got sexy. Oh, now we're looking at JT's back.
Nicely done.
That was awesome.
I love that the audience did not just see the show that we saw, which was JTE hitting a light switch with a broomstick.
Yeah, right?
And turning the lights back on.
I so wish we had been on a wide shot in that moment.
My God.
Man.
The hero that he is, JTE, just ran out, got a broom, turned the lights back on, and
I'm going to campaign.
Max, you're in the frame.
That's our producer, Max's shoulder. So I'm going to campaign for JTE to get a special Oscar.
Yeah.
Also, but
Can we just acknowledge our extreme professionalism right now?
Go with the flow.
There's a whole show that happens during the show with JTE that no one ever sees.
The show within the show.
He's crawling under cameras.
Yes.
He's running behind and in front of things.
He's under the desk right now. But back to what we were talking about. Andy Serkis, he should either get a special award or something because he has mastered this and gone above and beyond. And it's just thrilling to watch him as either Caesar or Golem or whatever. Also, I totally agree with what Dan was saying as far as War for Planet of the Apes. And it reminds me, like you're mentioning, genre pictures and genre pictures not often getting nominated. But the third picture in a genre trilogy reminds me a little bit of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And that took home Oscar Gold. I don't know if War for the Planet of the Apes is quite that good, but it was quite a feat.
It should be in the conversation.
Yeah. Spencer, do you think that there should be a special category for Andy Serkis in performance capture, or should it just be actor?
It should not be actor. I'm sorry. I love Andy Serkis. I think he's awesome at what he does. But unless the Best Actor award is shared with every single person who animates him and who can literally change his expression. I know they're capturing what his actual
Spencer.
movements and his expression, but you can always alter that, and they frequently do.
Do you know how much stretching he probably has to do to stay in those positions and stuff? That's a lot of stretching.
That's a lot of stretching. That's Oscar caliber stretching.
I wonder if Daniel Day-Lewis has ever had to do that much stretching.
Yeah, but Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't have 1,000 people, in Korea altering his mustache.
See, but here's the thing. He does. Like saying that Andy Serkis doesn't deserve a nomination if the visual effects artists don't get one is like saying Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't deserve a nomination if the editors aren't also nominated with him. Like him doing Andy Serkis doing motion capture and having people work technically behind the scenes is exactly the same as every other actor trusting editors and
No,
every
I
other
disagree because
aspect.
you can take a take from Andy Serkis and change his expression, his movements. You can change things fundamentally about it that you can't
But
do
if
with
an
a real
editor
actor.
jacks up the cut, then it's going to look like a disjointed acting performance.
Yeah, and also an editor can dramatically. I remember this film project in film school. We got the dailies for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And that editor, I believe, won an Academy Award, and man, did he deserve it, because you have to see some of the, nothing against Kate Capshaw, but I will say, man, did he deserve it, because there was not a lot that he was working with, and he made magic out of it. So I do sort of, I don't know, I'm on the fence. I
guess I'm not saying that he shouldn't have an Oscar nomination, but I'm saying that he and that team are linked in a way that actors and editors aren't, where it should go to everyone that created Caesar, not just Andy Serkis.
I think that's fair, and I kind of tend to agree with you that there should be, at this point, because it's used so often, an additional category created. Oscar is pretty behind. They don't honor stunt people. That's a huge part
Comedy.
of comedy.
Yeah.
Well, comedy could be, it just isn't,
Yeah.
and it should be. You're correct. But I don't know that there should be a second category for comedy.
Unlike the Golden Globes, who nominates great comedies like The Martian.
The Martian.
Hilarious, fantastic comedy. Laugh out loud.
It'll be interesting to see how this evolves, and pieces of me have to wonder. I remember that Warner Brothers in particular spent a ton of money on Harry Potter. They kept wanting Harry Potter, particularly Alan Rickman, to get a Best Supporting Actor nod, which
Sure.
he deserved it.
Yeah.
But they're so behind. They don't have stunts at all. They're certainly behind in terms of honoring genre. I don't know that separating out a million different categories is the answer, but I would love to see more people get recognized for their work.
Yeah, and I mean, these two movies, I don't think they're the best two movies of the year, but don't they have like a dozen Best Picture nominees now? Like,
Yeah.
can't they
They have
go
like
up
10.
to 10?
Up to 10.
Yeah, they're both top 10 films.
Very well. Well, we've decided for you, Hollywood. You will include these films in some manner or another. We'll find out what happens come Oscar time. I do wonder if Game of Thrones has sort of opened the door, because they've opened the door for
The Ho door.
war. The Ho.
They've held that door open.
Sorry.
I cannot go on after that.
No,
That
no,
was the
please. I don't
greatest
want to
pun of the
completely
day.
derail your
That
point,
was-
but
no, I loved it.
that
It made
pun
me
just
happy.
came spilling out. I had no
played.
control over it.
There will be no puns greater than that today.
What
We'll
is
see.
a pimp's emergency exit? The Ho door.
The Ho door.
Damn, on the spot.
or the prostitute shoot.
Yes.
Well, speaking
Moving
of
on.
Speaking of both genre films and Oscar-nominated films, let's take a look at the Hateful BB-8. BB-8's got an evil twin, you guys.
What? Are you saying it's evil just because it's black, Roth?
This is
Why
how
is it evil?
This is how they're describing it. This is BB-9E. It belongs to the astromech unit of the First Order that keeps their starships and machinery operational. It's possibly Kylo Ren's sidekick. He's standing behind it,
wow.
beside him, and a lot of Lego toys.
Kylo Ren's sidekick.
So did you see the Sphoro BB-8 toys, the little ones that came out after
Yeah,
Star
sure.
Wars?
The remote control ones, yeah.
So basically, they're releasing this toy. So it's an app-operated toy, little droid, and it can interact with BB-8 and the little R2. He will show up. I don't know if it's a he or she. We're really unclear about gender.
I didn't think
I mean, do
droids
robots
had
have sex?
innies or outies.
I don't think they have innies or. It's a good point, Spencer.
They do have probes and stuff.
They have probes.
And holes
Does-
and ports.
Does
Probes and
BB-8
ports.
does
Are they
BB-8 have
just
a dick?
genderless? I don't. Well, BB-8.
It'd be so hard to roll.
Well, C-3PO always called R2-D2 he.
Yeah.
So
and 3PO, I think,
Oh,
is
He was
a
referring to
he.
the small person inside.
Because, like,
getting bigger.
when the R2
R2D2.
unit was fixing something, he'd have like a little like screwdriver come out of him and stuff.
Yeah.
So
But what's interesting is that a lot of
But he
the
also had a data
articles
port
I
that
saw
Leia inserted
referred to
into.
BB-8 as a she. And then they were referring to this as the evil twin just because it's fun. But
I think all droids are gender fluid, Roth.
gender no, that I'm good with that. I feel like, love is on a spectrum. You do you. But it's funny because there was that really nerdy part of me that was like, evil twin, you say? That confirms a number of theories I have about this movie, where it's going in the future.
Well,
which
would
it
you like to share?
absolutely does not. Sure. So if you know in the expanded universe the story of Jason and Jaina.
I do not.
Okay, very well.
Well,
Let's
I know
move on.
Jaina. Jaina was the solo kid.
Solo twins?
Yeah,
right?
the solo
Got it.
twins.
Right.
So you know what? Another time.
We'll save it for another time. That's a whole other video. All right.
But I think either way, in regards to BB-9E, is that its name?
BB hate.
Oh, BB-8. The Empire has conspired to sell many toys.
Exactly. It sounds like Sphero wanted a new toy, and they're like, we want to do a toy like BB-8,
But
again,
but a different color.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're going to have like the BB-8 and the BB-Hate like twin packs. You're going to have it separate.
Yeah.
You're going to have like the bouncy ones.
But how cute would it be when it meets BB-8 and it goes, traitor?
TR8R.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is clearly a merchandising push that I'm not entirely opposed to. I will say I was gifted the little BB-8 about a year ago, and I haven't played with him yet, and it's only because I haven't gotten my cat yet. Once I get my cat, I'm getting all those toys, and they're going to get a lot of use. And I
Yep.
would love if you have videos of
Your
you
cat
playing with your
chasing your
cat,
BB-8?
chasing BB-8.
I know from first-hand experience that cats are big fans of
Do you play
BB-8.
with the BB-8 and your cat?
We try to.
What happens?
It's a little finicky.
A little finicky.
The BB-8, not the cat.
Oh,
the
very
cat
well.
too, but the BB-8 more so. Yeah.
Well, BB Hate is coming to you. You let us know if you would be into it. Are you buying it? Are you not buying it? Is this just like a blatant marketing move that you're opposed to?
The
Or do
answer
you
to
think-
both can be yes.
The answer to both can be absolutely yes.
Where
it
do I
probably
pre-order?
is. Do you say yes, sirs, to an all-female Lord of the Flies? Because we're getting one. Warner Brothers is working on an adaptation. This is via Deadline of the William Golding classic novel, but this will be with all women. The directors and writers of the film are Scott McGee and David Siegel. They are behind the films What Maisie Knew and Bee Season. I will say that both of those films are female-led sort of coming-of-age stories. They were written by women, though.
Bee season.
Bee Season. Here's what they say about their adaptation. Siegel says, it's a timeless story that is especially relevant today with the interpersonal conflicts and bullying and the idea of children forming a society and replicating the behavior they saw in grown-ups before they were marooned. That's not really The Lord of the Flies as I know it. I will say that. But also, and then so McGee adds, it breaks away from some of the conventions, answering my thought, and the way we think of boys and aggression. People still talk about the movie and the book from the standpoint of pure storytelling. So I want to get your thoughts on this, but it's interesting. Does this sort of become cyberbullying in real life on an island?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's Mean Girls on an island.
Mean Girls on an Island.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I think that there is an interesting story in like a girls' school trip crashes on an island, but like then why call it Lord of the Flies? I think you're telling a different story here.
Yeah.
What's fundamental, and I really have so many thoughts and feelings about this. I haven't nailed my opinion down yet. I'm still mulling it over because pieces of me feel like a lot of the Lord of the Flies was about how they changed and how like these darker recesses of their nature came out because they were in this really repressive British boys' school. It was about the fact that their aggression had been repressed so much and then it came out. And it's very much about masculinity.
Yeah. Between Guy Ritchie King Arthur and the multiple Joker stories and the Andy Serkis Jungle Book after Disney just put out a Jungle Book and now this.
Don't forget the Mummy.
But I mean, just Warner Brothers specifically, I'm starting to become convinced they're just trying to like tank it.
Do they just
They're just trying to they're trying to producers it.
They're tanking for draft pick. They want a better
Warner
draft
Brothers
pick
is
next
trying
season.
to springtime for Hitler the entire studio. Like
that's
I
funny.
don't.
that means it's going to be great.
It seems like every time, it's like every time there's a really puzzling announcement about something, it seems like it's always Warner Brothers. It's like Pan, Hugh Jackman musical Pan, all girls, Lord of the Flies.
Didn't it start with Smells Like Teen Spirit?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's in there.
It's
Yeah,
like
it's definitely in
Guy
there.
Ritchie, King Arthur. Like these are all like parody pitches that you would hear, like, you know, somebody that's doing a satire. Like if they made The Player now, these are the movies that people would be in Tim Robbins' office pitching, but they're actually working on them. It's bizarre.
Or they're a hair away from those parody films at the beginning of Tropic Thunder.
Exactly.
You know, but I mean, I think it's great for young women to be able to look up on the screen and be like, oh, that's a story that I can connect with that much more because it's women, or girls. But just pandering, be like, we need a familiar IP. Let's just slap a familiar IP.
Yeah, it feels like they're
on
trying
it.
to start an expanded universe out of the books we were forced to read in junior high. It's just like this, and then like Watership Down's gonna come in, and like the
Can't wait
Catcher
for
in the
Old Man
Rye
in
will
the
show up.
Sea with Javier Bardem.
I actually love Lord of the Flies. I really love the story, and I do think that it's a great exploration, especially of that time, and if they're taking it from the perspective that these girls are in an environment where they're really repressed and then some darker impulses come out, I'm kind of okay with it.
You know what you would
is
love
kind of
is the reality show short-lived Kid Nation on Fox.
Oh yeah, Kid Nation.
Where they
Oh,
took
God.
kids into
man.
the not the woods, but like the
desert.
like
Yeah.
a ghost town, and they're like, "All right, kids, you're running it."
And horror show.
As you can imagine, there are tears from the get-go. It is amazing, and like little dictators rise and fall.
Really? It's basically like The Walking Dead with children.
Pretty much.
Oh my
minus some.
God.
There should be a show called The Littlest Dictator.
Yeah.
I do want to watch that.
It was a nightmare, that show.
Being a teenager is the worst. It's horrible. It's so hard to do. You can't control your hormones. Everything feels out of control. So like I understand putting teenagers in these settings of feeling out of control and wild and that they can't control. I'm not opposed to gender swapping, full stop. I do think what you're trying to do with it is where I'm confused. Like why not tell a new story or
Just don't call it Lord of the Flies.
yeah.
Lady
that's
Shipwreck.
that's what I don't. And
Or what are you exploring
from,
by switching the gender in this
Right.
particular case?
From my teenage experience and from the Lord of the Flies that I know and remember, like it seems to me that if it was teenage girls instead of teenage boys, it would have turned out so much better.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
That's what Max said.
That just seems like it would have been a much more pleasant situation because like
did seem a little more mature at that
I feel
age.
like so much of Lord of the Flies is about particularly how teenage boys interact with each other and that kind of alpha male power dynamic, even amongst like that's kind of what the story's about. And like I'm not saying that a group of girls wouldn't have that same dynamic, but it seems like putting a square peg in a round hole to try to kind of force that story onto like, are you just going to flip the names in the script? It just doesn't seem to work. It's like
Does Ralph become Romy?
yeah, like, I agree with Spencer. Like that's an interesting story, but like write that into an original concept. Don't just like lift this framework and like put it
Yeah,
here.
people say, "Oh, this is great. This is the next Lord of the Flies," instead of being like, "This is Lady of the Flies."
Yeah.
Yes, here's one issue. Isn't Lord a male pronoun?
They
like
might
Lord
change
and
that.
Lady, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, having been a teenage girl,
Lady
I will
of the
say,
Flies.
It's called Lady of the Flies.
Ladies of the Flies, Lordess of the Flies.
Oh,
I'm not
Queen
sure.
of the Bees?
Queen of the Bees. Well, then
That's a great one.
That's right. Like Mean Girls was based on this book, Queen Bees and Wannabes. That was
Yeah.
it was a nonfiction book about kind of the power dynamics among many teen girls. And I will say, having been one, it is like surviving the Thunderdome in many respects.
Yeah, maybe if they could just take that segment of Battle Royale where the girls are in the house together and then they all start poisoning each other, and then one of them has an Uzi for some reason.
For no good reason.
into that.
Yeah. I mean, I have very mixed feelings because half of my brain feels like that story is so of its time and of those circumstances, and half of me feels like it's human behavior. Like you're saying, if you put human beings, particularly young human beings, into a setting in which they must survive and they don't have any rules, all kinds of stuff is going to come out no matter which gender you are. So it's a very human story in that way. But I don't know. You guys
see.
let us know what you think.
The Beguiled was the best version of this movie I think we've seen. Like Sofia Coppola already made a great version of this.
So good. And you guys should see The Beguiled
yeah.
if you haven't. Oh, that's so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's, if you want to make a movie out of that, like that's great.
Yeah.
But that's an original story, and it's not taking from that. I mean, Beguiled was a remake, but you know what I mean. It's not taking the text of Lord of the Flies and just being like him and her instead of him. It's like there's more. There should be more to it. I hope maybe there will be.
I hope there is. I mean, again, I have so many. I'm open to it, but I have very mixed feelings about this. And pieces of me are just like, it always highlights when we're looking at these issues. Like we're just kind of a weird species. We're just like a really weird species.
Oh, I agree. People are weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are weird.
I can confirm.
You know what's not? Cyborg beetles.
That's not kind of weird.
Beetleborgs, if you will. We said Beetleborgs yesterday. So
Oh, wow.
Andy brought this
That's
up
adorable.
yesterday.
Andy,
Andy,
come
come out because I promised you guys that I would do a little digging.
Disturbed?
Yeah.
Because this is disturbing footage we're about to share.
Okay. So yeah, warning. It's actually, we thought it was really funny yesterday. It's actually very scary and very fascinating. So this is a video via the motherboard. And so here's the idea. They can control the movement of these beetles and other insects too. There's locusts, other insects too via electrical stimulation. Here's a quote. Having studied the beetle's muscle configuration, neural networks, and leg control, the researchers wired the insects so that they could be controlled by a switchboard. In doing so, the researchers can manipulate the different walking traits, speeds, flying direction, and other forms of motion. I watched this whole...
Like a real life Ant-Man.
They're controlled. And the thing is, the beetle will fight the control, but it can't fight it. So the beetle's struggling against the control, but it can't fight it. And the uses of these are, and this is where it gets crazy, some very positive. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But these are the uses. They are
inhumane.
It is inhumane. It is. But let's talk.
Yeah, Spencer, want to kill those beetles now?
Well, hang on. Here's what they're using. Let me tell you what they're actually using them for, and then this is where it gets even murkier. It's to find and search for people in disaster areas where to see if there's still signs of life. Into places that are collapsed that human beings can't go into. They send the bugs. Some locusts are used as bomb detecting locusts. Cyborg locusts. Other possible implications could be surveillance.
Look at this.
Criminal investigation.
So that's the missions that
And
they're
again,
sent
those are
on.
the missions.
This is cheaper than making a robot beetle.
And what they found was exactly. It was
Law and
actually
Order
cheaper
beetle
to
unit.
use the real beetle and control the beetle than to build a robot beetle. This is
weird too. That's like the round they do Planet of the Apes in that room.
Yeah.
Do
I wanna
any of
make
you
sure you
guys
can be
remember
heard.
this movie from the 80s with Tom Selleck, Kirstie Alley, and Gene Simmons with the robot beetles?
No.
Okay.
Are you making this up?
No,
Is this a dream you
real
had?
thing. This is a real thing.
Okay.
Tom Selleck, Kirstie Alley, and Gene Simmons
Max,
were in a
can you
movie.
get a name on that, or someone in the comments, or somebody?
Yeah, can someone
Find
fact check
this
that?
movie.
The robot beetle, Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, Kirstie Alley, and Gene Simmons.
Great.
From Kiss.
Gene Simmons from Kiss played the bad guy in this movie. Tom Selleck was a cop. Kirstie Alley was the love interest. And
Who was the beetle?
What were they doing with the beetle?
Gene Simmons was an evil guy who released this army of robot beetles that had like little syringes.
So basically, very ahead of its time.
Yes.
So there's a number of complicated implications for what the beetles could
Runaway.
eventually do.
Runaway.
They could be under the control of Gene Simmons, for example.
Yes.
And
That's a frightening thought.
Oh, no.
Well, see, now you know why I'm becoming vegan.
No, I know. I gotta say, I find it.
Yep.
You're turning into a real vegan, by the way.
I know.
Because you've dropped that into like 15 conversations in the past week. Like, you're
Keep the streak
really
alive,
becoming a vegan. You're becoming that's how I know you're actually
I've
becoming
had
a
cheese,
vegan.
I've had milk. Sorry, vegans. I don't got your back. That's too much.
Quick fun fact. Again, the movie was called Runaway, directed by Michael Crichton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a bait and switch to see a movie called Runaway, and then it's about Gene Simmons releasing robot beetles.
Yeah, it's not about
This
fans
is how
from
you
the
drama.
70s.
start the beetle takeover and extinction event of humans.
Planet of the
Like,
Beatles.
Like, where do we draw the line? Because it's like, if that were a dog, people would be losing their mind
Yes.
right
Yeah, but
now.
it's not a
like,
dog.
It's just a beetle.
It's not a
but Where
dog.
do you draw the what species is not over
Consciousness,
the line, Spencer? Where do we
like
start?
sex and everything else, sliding scale, and I think the line is somewhere around dog. I'll
Okay,
just say
but,
dog.
all right, let me ask you this: would a bird be okay?
Yes. Well, probably.
Exactly.
Is a fish.
Totally. Definitely.
These
Don't
are
they say fish are, like,
arbitrary
smarter than cows?
distinguishing.
Fish aren't smarter than cows.
These are
Alright.
totally arbitrary, just your feeling about the animal.
No, I think there's like a nervous system basis. Like an
If the
insect
beetle
just
is
doesn't have
pushing
a
against-
brain, really.
If the beetle is pushing against the
It's
force,
trying- it doesn't want to
it.
be
Yeah, but like
Control.
plants
Listen,
grow towards the sun. Like it's just reaction. It's not
If you want to
consciousness.
report Spencer to the ASPCA, please go ahead. Send us.
I'm not. I draw the line at dogs.
Slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. I gotta
Well,
say.
cats. Well, no cats either.
Hey.
I'm kidding. That was a
We're
joke.
learning some real.
a gerbil.
No mammals. Let's just
Okay.
say no
so
mammals.
mice are okay to test on.
No mammals. Let's
very
say no
spacious.
fish, no insects. I mean, yes fish, yes insects.
Yes fish,
We
like
can
it.
turn them into our
Crab?
minions. Yeah, crab, sure.
Crustaceans?
Crustaceans are allowed.
Dolphins.
No, they're mammals.
That's a mammal.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Shark.
I think we settled it.
All right.
Shark.
So insects and
Fuck
fish
sharks.
are okay.
If Deep Blue Sea has taught us anything, it's that we do not experiment on sharks.
by
Yeah, we don't do that.
the way-
We do not do that.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Deep Blue Sea has taught us so many things, but that is perhaps the most
My
important.
head is like a shark's fin.
Deep Blue Sea taught me so many things. Don't monologue in front of a tank.
Nope.
Don't do brain-changing Alzheimer experiments on shark brains.
Underwater.
Sharks can in fact hyphen one another.
Yeah.
Do not build a lab with an open glass seawall.
Yeah.
Most of my major life lessons
Jaws
have come from
3
Deep Blue Sea.
also
Jaws
taught me
3
about
did
open
this.
glass
Do
seawalls.
get LL Cool J to do your movie song.
Always get LL to do your movie
Yes.
song. God, I love that movie so much. It is so good. I will say that
shark's fin.
in terms of Beetleborg, I do have some mixed feelings because if your loved one was trapped and there was
Oh, yeah,
a way
send in
to
the
find
Beatles,
them,
for sure.
Right, but build a robot.
you should build. I agree with you, Andy. Even if it's more expensive, this is a sentient being. It is, to any degree that it is conscious, we should not betray that consciousness. And it's also scary
is.
because if you can
It's really
control a
scary.
beetle, you can eventually control human beings. And as we
And dogs.
and dogs. And as we've been discussing recently, there's all kind of technology that's much scarier than this. And I feel like I'm going to make it a weekly thing to bring in scary
What
technology.
scares us this week?
Yeah.
Just remember, it doesn't matter how well-intentioned most of those scientists are. It only takes one evil one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Joe Morton, what was his name in T2?
He was
thought
very
Yeah,
well-intentioned.
he thought he was doing the good thing.
Guys, Beetleborgs is Skynet.
We have to wrap this up, but it's funny. Yesterday I was talking about Terminator, and I'm like, what was their public reason that they gave for Skynet? And none of us could remember. If you can remember the public reason that they gave to build Skynet in the first place, like the thing that they were like,
Defense or something,
Yeah,
the
right?
bells
Yeah,
and
it's
whistles
defense, I
of,
think.
well, defense was the real reason.
Oh.
But what was like, oh, it's the new iPhone. You know
Oh,
what
for
I mean?
Genesis, yeah, it was like a firmware
an
update.
It was a
It was like
firmware
a new
update.
operating
Yeah.
system. Great.
Thank you.
And
It
was like
syncs.
free internet
It
and
syncs your
everything, right?
photos and your emails.
I
Like, yeah,
blocked
we've had that for a
Genesis
while.
from my mind.
It was the same in
entirely.
Kingsman too. We're like, oh, free internet.
Well, that
yeah.
made sense because it was like you could make your phone calls and your internet for free. But Genesis, it was just like, it's all my files in the cloud. And it just tells you how long the script was in development because
Yeah.
we had that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't like that reason. I blocked out Genesis, and I love T1 and T2. In any event, Beetleborgs, mixed feelings about those, but curious, but mostly this. Yeah. No
There's
to
the thumbnail.
Yeah. No to Beetleborgs. Yes to robot beetles that can find people in disaster zones, though.
Yeah.
Let's do robot beetles.
That's cool.
You guys let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank all of you guys for joining us
Good
today.
job, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you
Good
guys for being
times.
with us, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Hal.
Bye-bye.